Hi, it's Anna. Welcome to this video. For those who know me, I was born and raised in Beijing, China, and when I was not yet 14, I came to the US for a year of middle school and the entirety of high school. This summer of 2024, I graduated from St. Stephen's Episcopal School in Austin, Texas. I decided that I should go visit my old middle school in Beijing, which actually has an elementary school, middle school, and high school, so some of my friends actually spent an entire 12 years there. Plus, I really wanted to see my beloved English and biology teacher at the time. I think I'm making this video mainly for nostalgic reasons, but I also wanted to show you guys what my middle school life was like, because I loved my time here. So, the first thing I did was to hop on a subway. As you walk in from the gate, this is the first thing you'll see. This oval-shaped miniature landscape is composed of stones and trees. I think it's a rather Chinese aesthetic to use these to create an imagery that symbolizes forests, mountains, and rivers on a bigger scale, which can be interpreted as the entire cosmos. So here, the wish is that we can all have the world in our heart. The building behind the landscape is for high schoolers, their teachers, the headmaster, and other administrative purposes. I didn't spend much time in this building because I was not a high schooler yet, but I remember there was a really fancy biolab that I tested DNAs for aphids and ants in. When you walk out of the building and pan to your right, you'll see this building. I remember doing a lot of woodwork in it, and somehow I decided to make a collapsible lantern. And you can walk through the woods. I don't think people actually sit here. Sometimes they do. There are other places that people would rather go to. And when you're out of the woods, you'll get into this little walkway with grapes, and the gym is right in front of you. Continue to walk to your right, you'll get to the tracks, and this is where we do PE stuff. On your right-hand side, you'll see these marble door frames that are called Becoming a Person Door. That's a literal translation, but it means becoming an adult and becoming a functioning member of the society. And essentially, this is where the graduating class will be walking through on the day of their graduation. Turning to your left, you'll see a wall featuring alums that just graduated. Of course, they update it every single year. At the end of the wall, you'll turn right. This will lead you to my old classroom where I spent 2 years in. Before you get there, you'll see this little courtyard area that a lot of my friends and I used to hang out in. Typically, this door gives us easy access to our classroom, but it was unfortunately locked, so I had to walk around the building. And there are ping pong tables on the left. Finally, this is my classroom. One of the side doors of this building is open, so I got in through this way and walked through the hallways, and this is my classroom again. Since I left, I think they upgraded the fobs to their lockers. It didn't used to look this fancy. Unlike our school in the US, back here within my grade we had 14 classes. Each class has 30 to 40 students that share the same schedule and occupy that one specific classroom where teachers will come in and teach us, besides physics, chemistry, and biology where we have to go upstairs to go to these labs. Getting out of the middle school building, you'll see this trail that you can run on to get around the entire campus. Making a turn to your left, you'll see this circular-shaped doorway that's also in the style of a Chinese garden. I would say the lighting right now is not the most flattering, so I'll put a photo here that I took a few years ago. The library is on our right. On top of this little hill, there's a pavilion where a lot of little kids hang out in. Coming down, there's a little animal area. I wouldn't call it a zoo though. Funny story, our Chinese teacher took us here during class one time to talk to our pigeon keeper guy, who gets these pigeons out of their cage every morning to swirl above our campus, the same reason you would walk your dog, and amazingly, these pigeons always return on their own. It was a very insane and spectacular view to see hundreds of them flapping around in the morning sun in winter. And there are some more animals. I think, I don't know what the animal is besides the peacock, but they come outside as well, but right now they're just chilling. I think this walkway is really pretty because it's shaded, it has a wooden floor, and there's some water on the left. And yes, we do have 2 alpacas on campus, and our students really love them. And they have a very chill personality. At the end of the walkway, there's a little pond with koi fish in it and some lotus flowers. And we have arrived at the middle school area, and we'll come to the middle school building a little later. This is a pond full of koi fish in front of our library. Sometimes the fountain is turned on, but right now it's closed. There's a quiet side of the library, and on the other side, you're free to talk and discuss with your friends. It has a pretty good skylight in the middle right here. Our Chinese teacher sometimes would take us here in the morning to read any book that we want. And I still remember reading the novel Ferryman by Claire McFall. There's a multimedia room on the second floor. I remember we had an English singing competition right there. Walking out of the library, there is a central area where most people hang out. That's the basketball court. Coming through the basketball courts, we have a little ginkgo forest on our left. The entire forest turns golden in deep fall, and since it's approaching winter where the sun does not rise as high as summer times, the forest is then glazed over with a layer of golden hue. I've actually never been to the place that's behind the circular doorway because it was so crowded all the time. I remember students were selling things, maybe stickers or boba. Next to it is another place that's under construction right now. I'm not sure what its function is. I think it's like a smaller version of a library where people read and go into that meditative space. Yeah, I know it sounds really vague, but I'm just gonna put it that way. We have a lot of fruits in this little forest. There are apples, peaches, pears, and hawthorns. And when you turn around, there is a mini outdoor stage that you can perform on. During certain art festivals, people would sing and play guitar here, and others would listen. Here is a close-up of the peaches. You can really start to smell them as summer goes by and when it goes into fall. Now I'm walking towards a dining hall. We have 5 dining halls in total, which is very exciting. This is the dorms for the boarders. We did have some boarders, but not a lot. As I'm walking towards the greenhouse, I just want to quickly talk about the 5 dining halls that we have, because who doesn't like eating? Each dining hall vary from each other by like 30 to 40%. Sometimes certain dining halls have more interesting dishes in my opinion. Sometimes they would have yogurts and desserts. Sometimes they would have pizza and spaghetti. They even have malatang, which is, I think of it as a fast food version of a hot pot. Sometimes my school even gives us a taste of different cuisines, within China. Like the food that we typically eat is based on a Beijingese or Sichuan cuisine, but sometimes we would have Cantonese cuisine. And now this is a greenhouse. The thing is, I did not take any classes that's related to coming here, so I don't know much about it. They're also growing a lot of the flowers and vegetables outside. And next to the road, there are chess tables. Look at this. This is actually kind of smart. The elementary school building is on my left, but now we're gonna duck through some of the tree branches that will lead us to the club for studying insects. Memorizing the traits of the insects and try to categorize them was always a pain in the ass because there's just too much to memorize. But we do have a lot of hands-on experience where we, for example, go out in the middle of the night to capture some of the bugs and make specimens out of them. And my bio teacher really encouraged me to do this project with 2 other kids where we studied the relationship between aphids and ants. That included hours and hours of recording footages in the sun of ants and aphids with a macro lens and rewatching them in slow-mo. We also collected the ants and aphids in alcohol tubes so we can sequence their DNA later. This is the elementary school, but it's not really relevant to me because I didn't go there. Nonetheless, I walked around, and there are actually a couple of teachers having conferences right now. Look at these colorful, circular things outside the building. Sometimes the kids use them as slides. And even when I was in middle school and were almost becoming a high schooler, I used to go there all the time with my friends. There was a tree here that was 100 or 200 years old, but it fell one day during a storm. So a student actually wrote a reflective story about it, discussing the relationship between time and change, and they said that we should make changes and do meaningful things while we still have time. Now I'm approaching the gym area that I was talking about earlier in the video. On the first floor, there are a few badminton courts and a few ping pong tables, and I also believe there is a weight room inside. Now, here's the weird thing. On the second floor, there's an indoor basketball court. But once you go through it, it's a theater. Technically, you need a fob to get into this building, but the door was left ajar, so I slipped in, but then I think when it closed, it actually closed. So I could not get out. I tried to go downstairs where it's connected to the swimming pool, but it's also locked, so I had to call my bio teacher, and she called a security dude and opened the door from the outside. And this is the swimming pool. And our school actually has a pretty good swim program. I have a lot of respect for my friends or just any athlete who trains so hard every single day. This is outside of number 5 dining hall. It was 5:15 at the time. I was really hungry, but I don't have my card anymore. You need to swipe your card to pay. So I asked somebody if I could borrow theirs, and they're really kind, so I paid them back later, and I had dinner here. Look at these two dudes. They're very engaged in the Wimbledon games happening on the TV. That's pretty much it for the video. Just want to say that sometimes I feel like I'm very lucky that wherever I go, in China or the US, I've always been surrounded by kind, positive, genuine, and funny people. And when the time has come for me to change and to move on, these memories are the ones that I can always hold on to.